I welcome all to our English Nama's English language course. This is the third episode of our English language course, and in this third episode of our English language course, I am going to teach you all the 16 sentences in English language under 25 minutes. Hope you will like this video. Do share with your friends and subscribe the channel for upcoming more English related videos and for next episode of our English language course. Hi viewers, I am Abdullah Khalid and you all welcome on English Nama. This is the third episode of our English language course, and in this episode we are learning all 16 tenses in English, and I'm going to give you a lots of examples so that you can understand them and use them yourself. First, I think it is best to have an overview and then we can go more in depth in each group. I know that going over 16 tenses all in one lesson may seem like a lot, and it is. This is big lesson, but they do share a lot of characteristics. So, seeing them all together can make them easier to learn and remember. Let's go through them first. So first we have present simple. I ate chocolate. Then present continuous. I am eating chocolate. Then present perfect tense. I have eaten chocolate. The last present tense is present perfect continuous. I have been eating chocolate. Then we move on the past tenses. First one is past simple. I ate chocolate. Next one is past continuous. I was eating chocolate. Third one is past perfect. I had eaten chocolate. Fourth one is past perfect continuous. I had been eating chocolate. So these are the past tenses. Now moving on to the future. Future simple tense, I will eat chocolate. Future continuous tense, I will be eating chocolate. Future perfect, I will have eaten chocolate. And the last future tense is future perfect continuous, I will have been eating chocolate. Last group we have is conditionals. First one is conditional simple. I would eat chocolate. Conditional continuous, I would be eating chocolate. Conditional perfect, I would have eaten chocolate. And finally, the conditional perfect, I would have been eating chocolate. Can you see how many similarities there are between all the tenses? Now let's look a little more closely, starting with the present tenses. The first sentence that you learn in English is usually the present simple, and that is for a good reason. It is actually the tense that native speakers use in around more than 50% of their written and spoken communication. They do use the other present tenses quite often too. So they are all very important. Present simple, I work on Tuesdays. This is used to talk about general statements, habits and facts. The present continuous, I am working now. This is used to talk about actions that are happening right now. The present perfect, I have worked at a shop. We use this to talk about past events or actions that has present consequences. And the present perfect continuous, I have been working for 3 hours today. This is used to talk about an action that starts in the past and continues in the present. Okay, so let's discuss each present tense in detail. The structure of the present simple, like its name, it's very simple. We have the subject plus base form of the verb except from in the third person singular. When we add an s, so for I, you, we and they, it is I ate, we work, you do, they play. For he, she, it is he cleans, she smells. It works. To be has its own form in present simple. I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, they are. As I said before, we use the present simple to talk about general statements, facts, and habits. We also use it to talk about scheduled events like bus or train times. Here are some examples. I am a man. My name is Abdullah Khalid. This is a general statement or fact. Wasif meets her friends on Friday evening. That's a habit. The bus to Lahore leaves at 8 p.m. That is a scheduled event in the future. I hope all of that is clear now. Right? Let's move on the present continuous. We use the present continuous to talk about things that are happening at the moment of speaking. But be careful in general. There is an exception. We cannot use state verbs, words like hate, love, want. I will explain this later in the video. It is to do with slang use of language. Okay. The structure of the present continuous is subject plus be plus verb ing. Here are some examples. I am teaching English. They are cooking chicken. We can also use this tense to talk about things that we think are temporary. Compare these two sentences. Atif lives in Lahore, or Atif is living in Lahore. In the first sentence, I use the present simple because I think that his state is more or less permanent. But in the second sentence, I use the present continuous because I think his situation might be temporary. He is living in Lahore now, but I don't know what might happen in a few weeks or a month. Perhaps he is studying there or he is working there for a short time. You will hear native speakers use state verbs in the present continuous in this form or to show this meaning. I am loving my coat right now. Love is a state verb. I am not mean to use it, but means right now. You will also hear people say, oh no, I'm hearing that song right now. It means it's a temporary state. Some reason right now I don't enjoy that song temporarily. I'm hearing it. So when your teacher say never use a state verb in the present continuous, take that with a little pinch of salt. We also use the present continuous to talk about arrangements. This means that we are planning to do something in the future and it involves another person or business. Let me give you an example. I am having my haircut on Tuesday. Asad is meeting his parents tomorrow. They are plans, but they depend on something else. Let's take a look at some examples. Rehan is studying medical. Temporary situation happening now. We are meeting our friends next Friday in Lahore. Arrangement involving someone else. We are eating dinner. We are doing this right now in the moment. It is raining. These are all the examples. Let's move on the present perfect tense. The structure of the present perfect is subject plus has or have plus the past participle. There are three main ways that we use the present perfect in English. The first is to talk about the things that started in the past and continue to the. It is very important to remember that they are unfinished actions. When we talk about these events or states, we often mention how long they have been going on for or when they started. For example, I have lived in the Pakistan all my life, or she has been at university since 2017. Boys have been studying for 3 hours. The second way that we use the present perfect is to talk about our experiences up to the present. When we do this, we do not talk about exactly when something happened. We are just generally telling somebody about our life experiences. For example, he has been to Dubai 3 times. We have met the Queen. I have read all of the Harry Potter books. Finally, we also use the present perfect to talk about past events and actions that have consequences in the present. For example, I have eaten breakfast, so I am not hungry. Or Asad has lost his keys, so he is going to be late for work. Let's move to the last of the presents, the present perfect continuous. Now we use the present perfect continuous to talk about something that is started in the past and continues to the present. And that might sound very similar to the present perfect. But there are a few key differences. One big difference is the structure. We use the structure subject plus has have plus been plus verb ing. I have been eating chocolate. As we discussed before, present perfect continuous, we use it to talk about things that we have been doing uninterrupted that have not finished. We use this tense to emphasize how long something has been happening. For example, I have been watching that TV show for weeks. I am emphasizing how long I have been watching the TV show. Or Wasif has been playing football for 2 hours already. We use it to talk about things that have been done recently or lately. For example, look, it is been snowing, or I have been practicing my English skills a lot recently. Remember, we generally do not use the present perfect continuous to talk about states. You would not say, I have been belonging to a club for a long time. You would say, I have belonged to a club for a long time. Some more examples. They have been trying to call you all day, or she have not been feeling well lately. Let's move on the past tenses. We will have a quick overview and then we will go into more detail. We have the past simple, I worked abroad last year. That talks about past finished actions. We have the past continuous, I was working at 10 a.m. yesterday. That describes a continuing actions at some point in the past. Then we have the past perfect. I had worked there for 2 years before I got my promotion. That is used to describe past actions that happened before another past action or time. And we have the past perfect continuous. I had been working there for 2 years before I finally got my promotion. Very similar to the previous one, but we will go into more detail. We use the past perfect continuous to talk about past actions that continue to a past point in time. Let's discuss them in detail. Start with the past simple. This one is nice and easy. It is the second most common tense that English speakers use. We use it to talk about events that happened before the present moment. These must be finished events or actions that we often say when they happen, although that is not obligatory. The structure is the subject plus regular verb ed. However, lots and lots of verbs are irregular. An example, I went to bed at 10 p.m. last night, or Rihan ate a sandwich for breakfast. Another example, my father brought me jackets last week. Okay, let's move on to the past continuous. The structure of this tense is subject plus was or were plus verb ing. We can use this tense to talk about actions or states. One way in which we use the past continuous is to say what was happening at a specific moment in the past. For example, Mom was cooking dinner at 7 p.m. yesterday. We can also use it to give background information about something. For example, Hassan was speaking to me whilst I was trying to prepare my exam. Or it was raining when I went outside. We also use it to say that an ongoing action was interrupted by another action. In this case, it is usually paired with another clause in the past simple. For example, we were eating dinner when he arrived. We were eating dinner over this long period of time and he arrived right then. Or they were chatting about the holiday when Asad called them. Let's move on to the past perfect. The past perfect tense is used to talk about events that happened before another event or up to a certain time in the past. Again, if it is often used with the past simple, the structure is as follows: subject plus had plus past participle. Let's take a look at some examples. When I arrived at the bus stop, the bus had already left. Mean the action is already happened. Or you had traveled to 10 countries before your second birthday. Or she had worked at the hospital for 5 years before it closed. Or we had already eaten dinner, so we were not hungry when dinner was served. Finally, let's discuss the past perfect continuous. The structure is subject plus had been plus verb ing. Now, the past perfect and the past perfect continuous are often used interchangeably by native English speakers. There is no difference in overall meaning. Take a look at these two sentences. There is no real difference in overall meaning. I had worked there for 5 years before the company closed. Or I had been working there for 5 years when the company closed. No real difference, we can say either. However, you should use the continuous form in these two situations. If you are talking about an action in the past that continued up to a certain point and continued after it, or if you are talking about a repeated action that happened in the past up to a certain point. Let's take a look at some examples. They had been playing for hours before they decided that they were lost. Or the team had been practicing for months before the match happened. There is a saying, what come easy won't last. What lasts won't come easy. So we are officially halfway there. It is time to move on. If you are still here, you are doing really well. Really well. Let's have a quick overview of future tenses. We use them to talk about events after the present moment. We have the future simple, I will work in the summer. This is used to talk about events or actions that we believe will happen in the future. We are really certain. We have the future continuous. I will be working at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We use these for actions at a specific moment in the future. We have the future perfect. I will have worked there for 5 years on Monday. We use this to talk about an event or an action that is planned or expected to happen before a certain time. Past future tenses. Future perfect continuous. I will have been working there for 2 years on Monday. Very similar to the future perfect. We will talk about them in the video later. We use this to talk about an action that will continue up to a certain point in the future. Let's take a closer look now. The future simple. The easiest way to talk about the future. The structure is subject plus will plus base form of the verb. We can use it to talk about things that we think will happen in the future. I think it will rain tomorrow. I am sure you will love this novel. We can also use it to make offers or promises. I will help you cleaning those cars. Wasif will call me today. And finally, we can use it to talk about facts in the future. It will be Ghazanfar's first marriage anniversary next year, or my brother will be 12 years old soon. Let's move on to the future continuous. The structure is subject plus will be plus verb ing. This tense is used to talk about actions that will be in progress at a certain point in time. These actions will start and end in future, but we don't know when. I will be eating breakfast at 8 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know when I will finish. It also indicates that an action will be carried out over a period of time, not simply in an instant. I will be playing tennis tomorrow. That will be a considerable amount of time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, not just a second. We also have the future perfect. We use the future perfect to talk about action or state that will be completed before a certain point of time in the future. We often use time clauses with the future perfect, like by or when. I will show you lots of examples, but first the structure. Subject plus will have plus past participle. Some examples. I will have retired by the time I am 65. We are using by there to show that final point. We have the future perfect continuous. This tense describes actions that will be continue at a certain point in the future. When you use this tense, you are thinking about the duration of that action up to a certain point in time. The structure is subject plus will have been plus verb ing. He will have been living in Lahore for 8 months in May, or when I retire next month, I will have been working here for 10 years. Like with most other continuous tenses, we don't use state verbs. It should be, I will have had my cat for 2 years this year, rather than I will have been having my cat for 2 years this year. You also cannot use the future perfect continuous to talk about finished actions. You just have to use the future perfect instead. Finally, the last four tenses are the conditional tense. We use these tenses to talk about hypothetical situations or an event that depends on another event or state. These conditional tenses often form part of conditional tenses, but they do not always have to. Let's have a brief overview. We have the conditional simple, I would work abroad if I could. We use this to talk about hypothetical actions in the present. Next we have the conditional continuous. I would be working abroad now if I was not stuck here. We use this to talk about hypothetical continuous actions in the present. Then we have the conditional perfect. I would have worked abroad last year, but I did not get my visa. We use this to talk about hypothetical action in the past. And we have the conditional perfect continuous. I would have been working here for longer if I had got my visa earlier. We use this to talk about hypothetical actions that started in the past and continued. The conditional simple formed with the subject plus would plus the base form of the verb. I would travel in the first class. She would walk to work. Now these sentences don't really have a lot of meaning on their own. So they usually coupled with another idea. I would travel in the first class if I won the lottery. Or she would walk to work if she lived closer. Would can be replaced with could, should or might. But this does change the meaning. Some examples. He could get a dog if he wanted. You should see a doctor. I might go to the market tomorrow. Let's take a look at the conditional continuous. When we use the conditional continuous, we put the focus on the duration of a hypothetical action. This means that we use this tense to talk about a longer action when we want to emphasize or we want to people to focus on how long an action would take place. The structure is subject plus would be plus verb ing. It expresses an unfinished or continuing hypothetical action. An action which is probable result of an unreal condition. It is easier if I just show you some examples. I would be writing letters if I was at school, but I am not at school, so I am not writing letters. He would be walking his dog right now if he had not broken his ankle, but he has broken his ankle, so he is not. You can use could, should and might in these sentences, but again it changes the meaning. Examples are, you should be driving the car I just bought, or I could be sitting on a chair in class right now. Now take a quick look at the conditional perfect. When we want to change the past, we use the conditional perfect tense. Of course, we can't really change the past, so this is hypothetical. We talk about what we would have done. The structure is subject plus would have plus past participle. I would have told Sajjad not to come. I would have bought that car, but I could not afford it at that time. She would cook the bigger meal, but she did not know you were coming. Again, you can replace it with could, should or might. I could have bought that car, but I did not. You should have told me we could have gone if we had known about it. Finally, the last tense that brings us to the tense number 16 is the conditional perfect continuous. We use it to talk about the hypothetical results of an action that started in the past. We use the continuous tense to focus on the duration. The structure is subject plus would have been plus verb ing. I would have been wearing my black jacket if mom had washed it. He could have been working in Dubai if he had not taken the job in Lahore. Again, you can use it with could, should and might. Examples are, you should have been feeling better yesterday. She could have been living in London if she had taken that language course at university. Right? This is it for our third episode of English language course. I am happy that we have covered the all 16 sentences in this episode, and that's amazing. So kindly like this video, share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel for more upcoming English related videos. Till then, bye bye, Allah Hafiz, see you in the next episode.